Welcome back to Two Opinions in a Cloud. My name is Max Fritz.
I'm Stacy Deere-Strole.
And our cloud today.
David Wilhelm.
So we are sitting here at SharePoint Saturday Denver with lovely mountains behind us that you can't see, but I swear they're there.
Except for early this morning. Someone moved them.
Yes. So David, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. David Wilhelm. I'm the president of SharePoint Fest. We've been doing our series of events for since 2010. We do them in 3 cities in Washington, D.C., Seattle, and Chicago.
And Chicago's coming up pretty soon, right?
Yep, and very beginning of December, where we park it every year. Everybody freaks out because they say, I do not want to go to Chicago in December. Beautiful part is we've never really had bad weather, and you really don't have to go outside if you don't want. So, yeah, absolutely. They've done a lot of development around that area, so honestly, everything there is accessible, and that's what Uber's for.
Yeah, I've always had an easy time getting in and out, and with not a lot of traffic either.
Yeah.
If you plan it right, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's probably just about our largest event now. It was DC for a while. Now Chicago has actually come back quite significantly in terms of attendance. So it's right up there with our largest event.
So do you think it has anything to do with the new technology and all the cool new features Microsoft's bringing out here?
I would assume that has to have something to do with it. I also think it's one of the, if not the first larger kind of commercial event after Ignite, other than SharePoint Saturdays. So some of that messaging that they're releasing from the product group at the event there, we're kind of the next iteration of an event for them to deliver that.
Yeah, and there'll be some product group members there, if I understand right.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well as all 3 of us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we always have them deliver one of our day 1 keynote.
Yeah.
And then we obviously have other group, product group members come in, deliver sessions, and then also some of the local resources at the field level that come in and do that.
So something interesting I find about SharePoint Fest, and specific to me, I'm actually not presenting on SharePoint at SharePoint Fest.
Yeah.
And I think it's been interesting to see the Microsoft world evolve to SharePoint integrating with all these different platforms. I'm specifically talking about Azure there.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about how you've been developing the conference to start to encompass more areas.
So I guess it probably started like 3 or 4 years ago. We just realized you can't just talk about SharePoint, right? Because it's part of this larger suite, and it just kind of plays along with so many other products at this point. If you just take it to the Office 365 level or the Microsoft 365 level. So we learned quickly, and obviously we work a lot with Microsoft on this to make sure that our messaging is clear and that we're in line with what they're doing as well. And so 3 or 4 years ago, we really broadened and really looked at it as more of an Office 365 and Azure conference as well. Again, just because of the interaction of all that. But now we're talking about Teams a bunch. We're talking about kind of the interaction of SharePoint, even with Dynamics. Sometimes we're having that conversation, which we never did. So again, it's broader. We're looked at, or the messaging we have is a SharePoint, Office 365, and Azure conference, and then a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah.
So the first couple of days are all about workshops. Did you get some really cool and interesting workshops this year?
Absolutely. That's probably been the coolest, neatest thing we ever added to the event. We did that a while back now, but we started just kind of as one day, dipped our toes in, saw how it went, and it went tremendously. So now we actually see a majority, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 75 to 80% of our attendees attend the whole 5 days of the event.
Wow.
And attend all the workshops. So they're half day, full day. So it's a really nice opportunity for those folks that want to get a little deeper to come in. We do them on the front end of the event just because by the end of that, we've come to see you get pretty fried, and then hey, now you got to go sit for another half day or full day for a session is a lot for some folks. So we keep those on the front of the event. They come in, get some great content, and then they can kind of get more granular with the conference days where they're just attending the 70-minute sessions.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I've always liked about SharePoint Fest is, the users provide a lot of feedback, which has probably been, out of all the events I've ever spoken in all these years, is probably the most feedback I've ever gotten is from a SharePoint Fest event.
Well, it's great to hear.
Right? And I think it's great, and the feedback is great. You
Did
always
they
have,
like you?
Yeah. But you always have those one-offs, you know, hey, the room was too cold. Not really sure how.
Well, there's always an outlier, and we pull them out. We try.
Yeah.
So are you working on the heating for this year?
You wouldn't believe the things that come up in those evals. It's all good. We like all the feedback we can get, but it's not the speaker's job to deal with the HVAC.
Yeah.
Please remember that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is good is that you guys are actually listening to the users and changing things to meet the needs that they're asking for.
Absolutely.
And I've always thought that is huge. I see it from one event to the next, you know, because people walk up, hey, how do I submit my information? I was like, well, you know, they have an online thing, but if I'm pretty sure you can go up to the booth and they have something to fill out there.
Absolutely.
And I'll see them up there filling them out, and I'm like, and the person would express, and I was like, the next time I would see that.
Yeah.
So I can physically see that you guys are paying attention, and I think that's really important.
Well, it's, you know, for us, we're not a big team by any means. We're 6 people and then all the speakers, right? And that's only so many points of view. And every event we can have 500, 600 points of view expressed. And of course we can't cater to all that. But we find that, you know, it's a bell curve, right? We kind of find that mean, and we're kind of walking that line of, hey, there's a great idea. And that's, to be honest, sometimes the outliers are the ones with the ideas where you're like, we would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, it's not going to hurt us to try it.
Right.
So we always do that. And that's kind of actually how the workshops kind of evolved too, is people said, hey, we want this. And we said, all right, we'll try it. And then it worked.
Well, I never thought for a million years anybody would want to sit and listen to me for an entire day on a bunch of quick wins.
Sure.
Right?
But they do.
And that was the request, a full day. So I'm like, okay, so now I go from 10 quick wins to 20 different ones, and people are excited. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great feedback that I would have never thought.
Sure.
Right? So I'm like half day, I'd be done. Right?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's all about them. And I think that's great. You guys are really great about that.
And we've even taken it now where kind of the poignancy of the feedback is more important too, because we used to just send the evals after.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're going to get just the general or the stuff they remember. And a lot of times they're going to remember the bad stuff. So you're, especially even speakers are going to, right?
Yeah, so, had bad feedback.
Yeah. But now through our event app, real time, as they're sitting in the session, pull it up, boom, 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 and we can all debate whether a 5 scale score matters or whatever.
Right.
It's better than nothing, but of course they can also leave comments real time as they're in the session or immediately after. And we find now the feedback level is even richer than it ever was.
Yeah, I have to admit, I couldn't even tell you my number scores on the last ones. I read the comments because that's what mattered to me.
Sure.
I wanted to know what they liked and what they didn't like, so what I needed to adjust.
Yeah, and the scores are more for us, where again, we're going to take outliers off where somebody thinks the high score is a 1. Why? I don't know you would ever do that. They give you all 1s, but they say best session ever, right? So we pull those out, we go through, we kind of take that number, and it's especially because we're dealing with, 70 speakers, 75, 80 speakers. It gives us the people that are just, for whatever reason, didn't do great, or the people that did amazing, they really stand out to us. And then, of course, we read all the comments. Right. So it's good. There's no reason for us to not do it. We actually had a dialogue on Facebook through a thread with Bill Baer for Microsoft this past week, where he brought up exactly this issue about evals, I assume coming out of Ignite.
I've heard some things.
I was on the thread. It was pretty funny on that he was posting on Facebook. I'm like, really? Someone? There are some things I just would not put on an eval.
Yeah. People do. No shame in their game.
They do.
So it's good. But thank you. I'm glad you guys appreciate that, because we put a lot of time and effort into it.
So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You first.
Okay. So do you have anything new that you're doing in Chicago this year that you haven't done any time before?
Well, one big thing, I would say there's a couple things. One is we now have our podcast area, which we did try in Seattle. It was the very first time. We kind of did that last minute. We're going to do a better and bigger job of that in Chicago. So again, like I said, I extended the invitation for you guys to come and do that. I'd love to have it where you can be on site, maybe even have some live interaction with attendees, because we have a seating area and we project it out on speakers so people can hear it. So it was actually something that people thought was kind of cool, new, and different. I don't think we're the only ones that are doing it, but by any means. But as podcasts are becoming more and more prevalent, and it's a great opportunity for the community to kind of get out and do that stuff real live and have it be about actually what's happening on site at the event. And then we're also doing, what we're pushing is this new thing. It's called office hours. We play with, it's all marketing, right? So we
Right.
just
Yeah.
play with the term. But basically what it is through our event app, the attendees can actually reach out directly to the speakers on site and the sponsors as well on site. And the whole purpose for that is to have a good, rich conversation throughout the event rather than them having to track you guys down in the expo or grab you or whatever. You guys can set up times. We actually have reserved spaces. For sponsors, this is wonderful. For folks that they're having a dialogue with, as they scan their badge, they can real time say, hey, let's set up a time for a follow-up meeting on site. Again, you guys can do that in your sessions.
And it's great for if you come up and talk to a speaker afterwards, or there's a line for this to talk to the speaker.
Or they ask the experts.
Be like, hey,
right?
let's set up a real time to come talk about this.
Exactly. And so it takes on some of those barriers where folks might not feel comfortable initially walking up to someone, and starting that conversation. Or if they're in a group or a small group, there's that kind of intimidation factor. So now it takes it out. It takes it kind of the level that we all do with social media. And hey, ping, ping, and let's set up a time and talk. And again, it's just providing a richer engagement for the attendees. I think it's for the speakers, it's great because you guys all have jobs and you're trying to create business and do all that as well. So that's an opportunity there, and then for sponsors as well. So we're pushing that big time just to keep the conversation going on site.
Yeah, I think it allows them to really talk about their situation specifically and not have to generalize it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right, so registration's still open. We'll include a link
Absolutely.
in the description for you guys to register as well.
Yeah. We have a deadline coming up on November 2nd.
Okay.
So just in terms of saving money on going there, that would be a great time to register before the 2nd. We do group discounts. We have discounts for federal, state, and local government, education, etc. So that's all available on the registration page people can find. So bring a group. If you're a part of the government, bring a group too. You can save even more money and just register by the 2nd.
Don't you guys also supply some business case of trying to get it approved?
So yeah, we do have resources to that. What we always say is just reach out to us directly. Again, we're not a big corporate entity.
Right.
You can email me directly. I'm just david@techconferences.com or david@spfest.com. Will all get to me. Email me directly, and I'll email your boss. I don't care. If you really want to say, no, this is what we're doing, this is why it's exciting, or I'll certainly give you materials that you can use. I'm happy to do that. We just want people to come and enjoy the event.
For an event as big as this, to offer, email me personally, and I'll help get this. That's huge.
That's big.
It's dedication. I appreciate
absolutely. We love our events, and I love our events, and so again, I want to share that with as many people as possible.
it.
All right, well, we hope to see each and every one of you there. David, thanks for joining us today.
No problem.
It's been
Thanks for
Max
having me.
and Stacy. Make sure to hit subscribe. Join us next time for Two Opinions on a Cloud.
Great. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.